Should I try to turn that back on? Oh, there we go.
Part of our new sound system.
I hear the city manager.
I'm ready when you are.
Okay, I'd like to go ahead and call this meeting to order. City Secretary Rebecca Huerta, would you please call the roll?
Chairman Everett Roy.
Present.
Board members Steve Vanta.
Present.
Roland Barrera.
Here.
Sylvia Campos is absent. Catherine Garcia. Jesse Gilbert. Paulette Guajardo. I saw her in the back, but she's not out here. Gil Hernandez. I'm sorry. Okay, there she is. Okay, so for the record, Mayor Guajardo is here. Gil Hernandez is absent. Roberto Hernandez is absent. Michael Hunter.
Here.
David Loeb.
Here.
Jim Klein is absent. Mike Pusley.
Here.
Connie Scott. Absent. Dan Suckley. Also absent. Okay, we do have a quorum present to conduct the meeting.
Thank you. The first item is public comment. Is there anyone here who would like to make public comment? Mrs. Huerta, did you receive any public comments?
No, sir.
Okay, seeing that there are no public comments, I would like to go to our first item. This is a special session, so we do not have any minutes or financial report and no executive session today. So our first item is agenda item number 24-0579 is a motion to approve a development reimbursement agreement with CNP Monarch LP.
Good morning, Heather Holborn, Assistant City Manager. We've got two really great. Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. We have two great projects today that we would like to present to the TIRZ board. This is a great example of remodel and reactivation of a vacant building down on North Beach. And so the first one we're going to talk about is the Hotel de Ville. So the Hotel de Ville, Hotel de Ville is located at Surfside Drive, and it looks like we have the wrong presentation up. If we can go ahead and switch that out to the other presentation. There we go. So Hotel de Ville is located at 3500 Surfside Boulevard, which is behind the Fajita Ville, which we'll be talking about on the next item. It was built in 1983. It is a 2-story hotel with ground level parking, and it has 40 rooms within the hotel. And so there you'll see it's right there off of the main entrance onto North Beach going to the aquarium, and it does sit up against the road in front of the Fajita Ville. And so what the project is that the hotel is in need of structural repairs and replacement of the pilings, facade improvements, improvements to the landscaping, including putting in a patio, seating areas, outdoor spaces, updating of the signage on the building, addition of security cameras, and then improvements to the parking lot. And so the current conditions of the landscaping, as a lot of the landscaping you see around town, it's been through 2 freezes, and so it is missing some of the landscaping. It is in need of updating. Looking at the building exterior, there is a lot of deferred maintenance.
Can we stop there just a second?
Sure.
I'm sorry. That presentation is not on our screen, is it?
It's
Okay, there it is. I don't know. I'm sorry.
That's okay. And so looking at the current conditions of the exterior of the building, there is some deferred maintenance. There's some improvements needed to update the building and to provide improvements. So the concept that is being proposed, like I said, is the addition of landscaping, addition of updating on the building. They are planning on going in and redoing all of the guest rooms along with all the exterior walkways, addition of the patio seating area, and addition of a pool. And I did forget to mention the developers on this project are Rupak Patel and Kalpesh Chowdhury. They are the developers that are redoing the Emerald Beach Hotel. So they are already present in town. They are already doing projects. And so this is a second renovation project for them. So again, sprucing it up, really bringing it up to date, really improving the aesthetics on the outside of it, along with redoing the inside. So that's what the proposal is looking at for the renovation of it. And so this is about a $1.4 million project. So going through redoing all of the structural repairs, the facade improvements, the landscaping, the signage, the security cameras, the parking lot. One thing to note on the parking lot is currently the parking lot is kind of a mix of concrete and asphalt. And so they're proposing to go in with to make it consistent, is making it all concrete. You've got the pre-development costs, the FF&E, the installation of the pool, and the paint and flooring within those guest rooms. So a total of $1.44 million in investment. And then what would be eligible out of that $1.4 million would be almost $900,000. And so what would be included for reimbursement is structural repairs and replacement of the pilings, the facade improvements, the landscaping along the patio, the sitting areas, and the outdoor spaces, the exterior signage, the security cameras, and the parking lot improvements. And so those are the costs that are eligible underneath the program within the TIRZ number 4. It does not include the FF&E, since that is not a permanent improvement. It also does not include reimbursement for the installation of the pool or, like I said, any of the guest room renovations either. So based off of this, the total cost is $1.4 million. Under that program, eligible cost is $877,000. 50%, because we can reimburse up to 50% of that, would be $438,000. But using the guide that we use within especially within our downtown TIRZ, is not an amount not to exceed 30% of the total investment. So the recommendation is a reimbursement of up to $432,000. So any questions on the Hotel de Ville project? This one is, so I know that there's been some, this is within a velocity zone. And so there will still need to be review on any type of improvements that are going to be needed per FEMA. The hotel is built, there's nothing on the bottom floor. It is built up on the second and third floor, so it's parking underneath. And so it will be going through a thorough review once it gets to development services and before any type of permits are issued on this to see if there's any additional things that need to be done for FEMA compliance.
Are there any questions?
Mr. Klein has a question.
I'm not, okay. Let me make. Mr. Klein, Board Member Klein.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to ask a question about this. I'm looking at the slide that has the total project costs on it, and you mentioned that it's going to include that TIRZ funding could be used to provide to help cover the cost of the security cameras, but not the pool. So I'm just kind of thinking, stepping back and taking a big picture view of this. It seems to me like as if the purpose of the TIRZ is to enhance kind of the property value in the area, that a pool would do more toward that than security cameras would.
Sure.
Help me out with that.
So the reasoning behind the pool is not recommending the pool for reimbursement versus security cameras. The security cameras help enhance security. It allows for, if anything has happened, you have that security footage that we're able to access and provide security in that area. A pool is, primarily focused for the guests that stay at that hotel versus kind of meeting that public purpose. And so we felt like that there's nothing that says a pool is excluded, but we felt like in looking through the improvements that is a little bit more stretch on a public purpose versus, the parking lots and the renovation to the building, which does add and improve that value.
Right. And I see in the next project you're going to bring to us as well that the security cameras are covered in there as well under the TIRZ. That's kind of standard practice, I guess, with the TIRZ.
It has been. We started that in the downtown TIRZ just because of the security aspect, and the more kind of eyes on the ground you have, the greater the enhancement to the security of the area. And so that is something that has carried over into this TIRZ too, because we are dealing with public areas, with tourism, with people walking up and down the beach.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sure.
Board Member Pusley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Am I on?
You are.
Okay. Heather, as you know, I sent an email yesterday to you and to Chairman Roy about my concerns over the FEMA regulations and what would be required here.
Yes.
And the city already has one black eye over on North Beach over this, and I agree with the North Beach Business Association. The city just flat screwed up on that deal, and there's no alibiing around that. So before we get into another one of these, I want to make absolutely certain that we know for sure that all the FEMA regulations have been met and that everything that we're supposed to do as far as floodplain management and all of that has been taken care of before anything takes place on this project.
Yes, and I have confirmed with Development Service and Floodplain Manager that, they are aware of this project and that as part of the review before any type of building permits are issued, that will be part of that review, is going through that FEMA review to ensure that, if anything does trigger that compliance, that is properly addressed within the plans, or, if there's not that trigger there, that everything is within where it needs to be.
Okay. And I would highly recommend that at some point there is a meeting with the North Beach Business Association to apprise them of this project.
Sure.
It's very important, and they're very engaged in what's going on North Beach, as you well know.
Yes.
And I just received communication from them that nobody has talked to them about this project.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Excuse me, Councilman Pusley,
I'm sorry, my speaker's not working and I can't hear you.
okay, the volume seems kind of low, but Carrie Meyer and Ron Graben, the president of the North Beach group, toured the facility with us recently, so they're fully aware of this project.
Are they texting me and telling me they've not heard about it?
You have to ask them. Carrie, I have pictures with me and Carrie talking to the developer at the site, so I'm not sure why she's not, We spent over an hour, Carrie Meyer, myself, Ron Graben, toured the restaurant, and we didn't go into the hotel, but we toured the restaurant. And a recent tour with Jesse of the Texas, we invited Carrie to a city meeting because they're so important on North Beach, and Ron Graben, he wasn't at that meeting.
I don't have control of my speaker as usual. So, I'm sorry, I just don't like this. I don't like having to not be able to turn my microphone on when I do this. So,
That's part of the
yeah,
process.
Yeah.
You just, okay, you should be on now. Here. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, just want to make you aware. I'm not sure why Carrie's saying something different. She was there with us we toured for how many hours, Jesse? 3 hours on North Beach with Carrie. We rented golf carts, so we had golf carts from the city. Part of that tour included visiting the Fajitaville and the whole complex with the developer who's here.
Were they with you?
Absolutely.
And
Okay.
I also want to just remind,
Just to point out for the record,
I want to remind the board also that the group that we're talking about, Carrie and Ron Graven, they represent the homeowners association, not businesses. So
right.
And so, and I know also that I had spoke to that group.
Yeah.
And talked to them about the future of what's going on as far as the hotel and the Fajitaville.
Right. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Are there any other questions? Make sure I do this right. Board Member Suckley?
Thank you,
He's not.
Chairman Roy. Just real quick, Heather, so refresh my memory, sorry for being late, we were coming down from the audit, but refresh my memory on the 30% threshold recommendation from staff, where that comes from?
So that is
Pressure button.
that we've used within our downtown TIRZ is that the incentive, it would be at or below a 30% total investment. So even though the expenses through the program may qualify for more than that, that 30% has been used as kind of a best practice or a guide on what the total incentives, especially if they are eligible from different programs, is not to exceed that 30%.
Okay. And is that 30% precedent been set on North Beach, or we're just using that because it was established in the downtown TIRZ?
I believe that, I don't know that we've had another program project that has the total reimbursement would exceed that 30%. If I remember right, with the RV park, and I'll have to double check that. I believe with the RV park, just the way that the incentives that they were eligible for was below that 30% just organically. And I believe also with the other project the other larger project, the apartment condo project that we had done, was, again, I think that the total reimbursement was less than that 30%. So I think this is the first one that would have been eligible for more than 30%, but we are recommending the 30% as that rule of thumb.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Board Member Loeb.
So having been there when the 30% was established downtown, the intent of it was to not create a system where somebody could get reimbursed more than the equity requirement of a mortgage. Because otherwise you'd basically have people doing make work projects, because they could borrow the full amount, and then pay themselves back more than they had to put up in collateral for the bank. I had a question on the 30 and 50%. So in the contract, will it say that if they spend less than the 1.4, if they spend $1 million, they can only get up to 50% of the allowable or 30% of what they actually spend?
So the contract will actually read, it'll have the dollar amount that they cannot receive more than $432,000, which is that. And then if they spend less than what the total anticipated cost, investment was, then that will be a pro rata share of that. So they do have to meet those thresholds of meeting up to what the committed investment was, and then they would receive up to the 30%.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing that there's no other questions, I'll entertain a motion.
I move for approval.
Second.
We have an approval and a second. I'll make sure I do this right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, no.
So we don't, do we? Okay.
Oh, we don't? No, not for this one. Okay.
All right. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries. Thank you.
Great, so we'll move into the next one. Fajitaville Restaurant, and I'll wait for that presentation to come up. Great. Okay. So this is the Fajitaville Restaurant, same developers, and they share a parking lot with the Hotel de Ville. And so, as you can see, it is up on the beach. This is actually one of our only beach bars or beach restaurants that we have, because of, if you look on North Padre Island, because of the dune structures, we don't have a lot right up on the beach. And then North Beach, this is the only one that is really right there with a beachfront area. So this was originally built in 2011, but it has been closed since spring of 22 when Fajitaville did close its doors as the current concept. So this is a little bit more intensive on the improvements. There's a lot of because the building has sat vacant, there is a lot of the weather just is very extreme. And so looking at structural repairs and replacements, basically redoing the outdoor entertainment area to include the patio, the stage, ground level bar and restaurant sitting area, and gazebo, repairs and improvements to that area. Mechanical and electrical and plumbing within the HVAC, the elevators, and the kitchen. The elevators are already existing but are in need of repairs. The kitchen, there actually are two kitchens within the restaurant. There's one on the ground floor and one on that second floor. And then the HVAC, just due to the environment, needs to be really totally redone and rebalanced. Fire safety, so looking at the fire systems within the building, the facade improvements, the landscaping, again, extensive landscaping within the interior, the outdoor entertainment area in the parking lot, exterior signage, the security cameras, and then parking lot improvements. The parking lot on this one is still in pretty good shape, but this is just some repairs and restriping and reorienting that. So looking at the current conditions in the landscaping, again, this has been vacant. It has been subject to the freezes that have happened. looking at the current conditions of the exterior business building, just because that is right there on right there on the water, the salt water really, and the salt air really does corrode things very quickly. Interior, this is one of the kitchens, kind of the interior, the first one on the left is the exterior patio, moving into the kitchen area, and then that one on the right-hand side is the bar on the bottom floor that needs to be revamped. Again, just looking at more of the current conditions, there's a lot of rust. The palapa area over the downstairs patio is disintegrating and needs to be redone. So the concept is a very vibrant, lively beach bar with chairs along the boardwalk, places for people to sit, for people to play games, have outdoor concerts, and be able to sit outdoor and really enjoy. But then also having the second and the third floor that will allow for indoor dining. This will allow for renovation of the stage area and the outdoor sand area. This is the concept on the bottom floor, redoing the palapa area, the downstairs bar. And so this again it's the same picture. You see the Hotel de Ville in the front and then the Fajita Ville towards the back. And so this will incorporate that whole parking lot area, landscaping of that and redoing of it along with the restaurant. So in this one, the total project cost is about $2.9 million. And this does include the total project of revamping, refurnishing, redoing the building. And then looking to see what is eligible under our North Beach Property Improvement Program. So it would be the structural repairs, the outdoor entertainment area, the repairs to the HVAC, the elevators, and to the kitchen for the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. The fire safety improvements that need to be done, the facade improvements, the landscaping on the exterior areas, the signage, security camera, and the parking lot improvements. And so out of the total investment, about $2.3 million would be eligible for reimbursement. So again, walking through the total cost, $2.9 million is a total investment, 2.3 would be eligible for reimbursement. So applying that 50% would allow for $1.1 million to be reimbursable. But again, we are using our 30% guide and recommending a reimbursement of $879,000, almost $880,000. So any questions on the project?
I stand by for any questions. Seeing that there are no questions, I'd like to go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry. Board Member Campos? You turned it off. There we go.
All right, leave it on. All right. You control everything.
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, everyone. Sorry I was late. Thank you, Councilman Everett Roy. I just have a question. You know, as I don't know how long I can keep saying I'm new, but when we make these type of investments, because you know it would be an investment, is there ever an opportunity for the city to also say, okay, well, we'll invest in this business, but, you know, can we expect a percentage of whatever they make as part of our investment to say this would give them an incentive to do well and for the city to do well, to say, okay, we're going to invest 30% of their, on this case, $2.9 million. So I'm thinking, well, what would be a reasonable, I'm not a business person, but I do have common sense. And so I'm thinking if I'm going to lend them this money, and it looks like it's going to be a great project, I would say, you know, I don't know, 10%.
Sure.
5%? I don't know. Is that something that the city ever does or can do?
So that wouldn't be something that would be allowed by
In the ongoing
state
desalination
law.
debate, let's address the underlying issues.
We don't.
Climate
Did you
change,
say who's
population
talking?
growth,
That's
and
not
entrenchment.
something.
Who's talking?
There we go. That's not something that, I mean, so, you know, the concept of economic development is that the city receives quote, payback through the increase in the property value through increased property taxes revenue, along with, this is something that would be an economic generator, so it's providing additional sales tax through the operations. The city as a government can't enter into, that would be more like a management agreement where we would say, hey, we want a portion of your profits. That's not something that we can do as a governmental entity.
Actually, no. I mean, I disagree with you only because we just had an opening, Gallery 41. We own the property, the Art Center, and the Art Center charges that, in this case, that restaurant, a monthly, rent, and they also get a percentage of their whatever they make. So why wouldn't that apply in this case?
So in that case, the facility is owned by the city.
Yes.
But the city leases the facility to the art center.
Yeah.
And then this art center is able to sublease a portion of that to someone. This is private property. This is not owned by the city. And so we can't enter into a contract to have a portion of their profits or a portion of their revenue to come back to the city. That's not something we can do.
David, is that something, I'm just asking because you lease property as your business. Would you ever consider that?
No, so I'll tell you this. I have 165 tenants. Only 2 of them I get a percentage of their sales. It is fraught with any sort of small business because you basically need them to have somebody other than you that they have to provide accurate data to. I mean, I've seen restaurants where, according to their books, when they come in wanting a rent reduction, they've never made a profit in 20 years. So speaking as a landlord, I'd much rather have taxing authority and get sales tax than I would, get rent. I would say the overall purpose of this.
Well, no, I didn't say get rent. I actually said just a profit of, let's say, just as more as an incentive.
So the concept around a TIRZ is that you have an area that is not generating, that when you set it up is pretty much agreed that it is not generating the revenue it should in terms of property tax and sales tax. And the point of it is you create this zone, and by promising to return the money that you generate in taxes or percentage of the money you generate in taxes back into the zone, it creates a safer environment for investors to invest. And then our profit taking as governments comes at the end of the TIRZ when the TIRZ resets and we get cash flow off of that. So, for instance, we do this investment today. They set it up. That's going to increase the value of all the property around it. That'll increase the taxes of all the property around it. It'll increase the tax value of this property. And then when the TIRZ ends, that will continue, and we will be able to take that money and use it to fund services. Right. So that's the general idea behind it in terms of us getting a return on our investment. I will point out that Del Mar doesn't get tax money off of city-owned property, so we wouldn't be for that.
Board Member Hernandez.
Thank you, and I'd like to thank my counterpart, Sylvia Capone Campos.
See, I don't have a... Sorry.
Well, because what you were describing is kind of like mafioso kind of thing, right? So I'm making joke of it. But yeah, we shouldn't be in that business. This is private property. It's not for us to get into it. This is an economic incentive to get people to, in a tax incremental reinvestment zone, the idea is to eliminate blight, right? To improve the area, to bring up the neighborhood. So I want to make sure that we understand that this is specifically designed for this. This is the specific identified area to improve this area. So this is the limits we have. This is, I think, a good investment into this property that will improve the area. So, I'm supporting this. Thank you.
Board Member Pusley.
I think you put me on next.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Do you mind if I go?
I made a mistake.
So we don't.
Board Member Hunter.
Thank you. Just a quick question. One of the objectives of this was to remove some of the concrete so that it was a more inviting green environment. Where is that concrete, and is that still planned?
So
On the outdoor area, it might be a question for the hotel owners, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I know that they are going to come in and, put more sand into that outdoor
That's it,
area.
yeah.
Exactly. And so there still will be hardscaping out there with the stage and kind of the pavilion area, but there will be additional sand that'll be brought in to make that area kind of flow seamlessly to the beach.
More beach-friendly and more publicly accessible.
Yes, exactly.
All right, great,
Yes.
thank you.
Sure.
Now, Board Member Pusley.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, just more to the Board Member Campos' comments. I certainly hope this city doesn't get into the habit of getting in the pocket of businesses here in Corpus Christi. We get into their pocket, I think, quite enough as a governmental entity with all of the permits and everything that they have to go through. And, California implemented a bunch of these kind of taxes. And I read last night where the state of California is $68 billion in debt. And they're going to now start taxing people who are moving out of the state so that they can try to recover some of that tax money before they leave. Businesses are leaving there by the droves, and we certainly don't want to get into that situation here in this city. Thank you.
Board Member Campos.
Thank you, Chairman Everett Roy. And thank you so much for Councilman Hernandez for mansplaining to me how businesses work. And thank you, Councilman Pusley, for also your comments as far as how businesses work. But again, this is something that is not new, as Councilman Pusley did say, that other states do this. Now, whether it's done correctly or not, what I propose is not out of the norm. And what I also mentioned was that we actually do take a percentage. For the example, as the art center, because that is our property, right? And we also, I believe, do that at the airport, don't we?
So again, that is a leasee, leaseor relationship. And so the city owns the property and we are leasing to a business or an entity to be able to utilize that property. This case, this is privately owned property. The city does not own it, so we don't have really a right.
No, I do. And I am going to support this, but I was just bringing, this concept up. But did you answer the question whether at the airport, do we take a percentage of their sales of the?
If they are the leaseor, so yes, if they are leasing property, but they're leasing the city's property and they are a leaseor, again, this is a totally different situation.
Yes, but again, because it is our property, so we do take a percentage of their sales. Thank you.
Motion to approve. Second.
Oh, with that, yes, I approve as well.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. I just have one thing that I'd like to say before we adjourn this meeting. One of the things that I look at as the council member in that area is that, the worst thing that we can do in terms of vacant buildings is leave them vacant. Because as you know, the elements aren't friendly. We're constantly having to fight rust and corrosion and things of that nature. And what they're doing, these are two really prominent landmarks that are down on North Beach, and being able to restore those, have people enjoy them, take care of them before they fall apart, and we have a situation on our hand, I think it is definitely a good news item. So, and I think that when we put this TIRZ in place, going back to when the TIRZ was born, I think this is a project that does exemplify in terms of what we're trying to do on North Beach. So I'm very excited about it, and I want to thank everybody that was here today and participated. And with that, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just giving you a hard time.
El Capone Compost.
Hey, I was going to tell you, Sylvia, They do that, you just have to bring your